Hey guys, welcome back to Seller Sessions. Again, we bring back Sean Smith. Hey Sean, how you doing?
I'm good, Danny. Thanks for having me back, man. I'm pumped.
Cool. What's going on in the world of sponsored ads? Let's go through a few bits. So let's kick off with, I don't like to put a time value on the show, but just recently released is the new reporting and the graph. Do you want to walk me through these or walk the audience through them?
Yeah. So actually, like tonight, I was looking and they took them away. So like I don't know what's going on there, but dude, the new graphs are really cool. They give you lifetime view. You can manipulate the date ranges the same in the campaign manager. And what's really cool, you can select two metrics. So you can look at two metrics. And then you can select up to like five, I guess, to see, which really doesn't matter. But I mean, it just saves time, man. It allows you to look at trends. I think the really cool thing is like if you make a change and you want to see if it's caused any like changes at the account level, you can just click in there. And the really cool thing is, to my knowledge, if you click into like an ad group, it'll show a graph for the ad group too. So it allows you to really segment things and see where things are going at the campaign level and at the ad group level.
Okay, so obviously people get buried in data and there's so many different facets that can be included in for your trends and stuff.
Yeah.
Give me what are your go-to metrics in terms of overlaying on the graph? What kind of metrics are you measuring off each other? What are you go-to? Because obviously if you've got all these multiples going on, people are going to flick through them and not use them they look at them, but not as a benchmark. So if you're benching, what are we looking at in terms of data? What's your go-to?
My go-to is always ACoS, mainly because that's the metric that the people that I work with are most concerned with, my client base, which makes sense because it's the reverse of the ROAS formula in the PPC world. So it's the reverse of the return on ad spend. So I would start at the ACoS and then work your way down from there, find out what's influencing it, and then go to sales. And I would start off at ACoS and sales and and make sure you have targets for those. Make sure you have like certain targets on the PPC side. I think impressions and clicks are good for like real-time data and spend as well, and clicks and things, because sales don't roll in immediately. And so like, let's say you want to increase the traffic for a specific product. Well, you increase the bids, you bid on new keywords, you do all that stuff. Well, the stuff that you're going to see immediately, like the next day, is impressions, clicks, and spend, but you won't be able to see the sales. And so I like to use those when I'm tracking changes, because those are more, updated, more like, I guess, closer to real time than the sales are.
I suppose as well, obviously with the clicks and the impressions, it's a quick overview on campaign performance in the senses, are you still getting visibility on these keywords? Because you may find that, Amazon will kindly they'll take you out of a perfectly good category and dump you at the arse end of their catalog, and suddenly your relevance has disappeared and you're no longer getting any impressions on those keywords.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. That's brutal. Like that. Yeah. Dealing with those situations where Amazon switches up on you is brutal. Yeah. It is good for visibility like that. I mean, we do focus on the ACoS and sales, but I really like how you said that, Danny. Like, I like that a lot, actually. Like, a lot of people don't talk about visibility a lot, but clicks and impressions are that form of like visibility. They're higher on the funnel, but it's needed to get to the bottom of the funnel. So it's important to measure and to see, like you said, like if you see an increase or a decrease on those graphs, then you can go in and troubleshoot and find out where it's happening. And then once you like really find the problem, then you can diagnose it and take action. And then after you take action, measure afterwards.
Well, at the end of the day, conversion's king. Conversion are sales, aren't they? So, or if you're applying a sales metric in terms of your conversion.
Yeah, conversion rate. Yeah, oh, definitely. I love conversion rate. That is one of the metrics we like to really measure as well, because especially when you're dealing with, I would say like the top things that influence, PPC really are it's the difference between the price point and the average cost per click a lot of the times. So if you have a $15 item, you can't spend much on, and you want a 10% ACoS, you can only spend $1.50 on PPC. So I like to, those are actually two other metrics that I measure. Well, three is the price point, the margin, and the average cost per click of the niche. Those are huge when you're like, if you're selecting products and when you're measuring them, because then you can say to yourself, oh man, I have a low price point item. My average cost per clicks are high. So, I'm having some issues here. And then you'll need to increase those conversions, because then that'll decrease that ACoS.
Yeah. So what are we looking at? You've got a broad spectrum of accounts that you're managing. You've got the new reporting now, let's say. What are you benching for now in terms of ACoS? I know that people have different price points and stuff, but what are you trying to tune in? If you wanted to dial in what's an acceptable ACoS across the board? I know everyone has different parameters. But is people going, well, generally, I don't mind if I can get it around 20, 30% or lower, then I'm happy. And then obviously you've got other guys who just want to make a profit, which is almost impossible in some of the categories,
Yep, exactly. So between around I would say generally the trend is between probably 20 and 40%, I would say, or that's the median. There are outliers, but in terms of generally what we target, that's what we're seeing works well for us.
So effectively, if they know their numbers, they're looking for roughly a break-even-ish point. As long as they can break even on their costs of running the campaigns, they're happy because they're getting visibility and it leads to more sales.
Exactly. Either break even or slightly profitable. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Well, it's not just that, if they're paying a service to manage their accounts, they want to try and get close to covering those fees if possible somewhere down the line as well, don't they?
It depends. It depends on the type of client, man. Some people think like that, and some people think differently. So it's one of those things where it really depends on and another thing is a lot of the people we work with, I think that's one metric they look at, but then they when we work with really big sellers, they care more about their time. And so, they value their time at a certain dollar amount. So if we can save them, hours, then, they can go make more money.
Do you know what? I mean, I don't like ACoS as a metric personally. I try and look, you measure in ACoS, right? You measure metrics and they're very important. But I think people get obsessed with ACoS. I look at it as, right, this is an investment. I see it as a product cost. Do you see what I mean? I'm looking at an investment. I'm like, right, this is what I need to do to get X. So you can break it down and you can go, well, that my ACoS is running at 100% for a period of time. But ultimately, my overarching goals is to achieve sales velocity on a product. So part of my strategy, with less so now with PPC, but on its own, it's more diversified, the giveaways and everything else that you do, external traffic. I think it's important to go beyond ACoS, but I think people look at it as a metric that is their sole existence in and around the product. Does that make sense? And I'd like to see people open their eyes to a broader look and look further down the horizon than just on ACoS as a metric. But I mean, do you find it can be a struggle articulating that, especially to new customers that you've never met before? Is obviously they come to using a service is because one, they don't want to manage it themselves. Two, they may not be able to manage it themselves. And three, it's going to be, well, I want to outsource it, but can I get it cheap? Or who's the cheapest person and the best person? Which cheap and best doesn't always fall into the same category,
Yeah, well, usually and the fourth one I would say to build on top of what you said, Danny, is people want a specialist. I feel like people who are kind of at the top of their game, they appreciate, when they come across a good service or a good agency type thing, they appreciate the fact that we have access to a lot more data and a lot more information, so we can give them insight into trends across other accounts, and we get to see things that a lot of other people don't get to see. So I think that's, that specialist portion of it. We use software, we use this, that, or the other. And so a lot of people don't do that. And so, we usually don't work on the lower end of the market. We try to tailor ourselves towards, bigger brands just because we have those capabilities. And they're just, that's where we want to be. So might as well align ourselves with those types of companies.
Cool. All right. So we covered the reporting end of thing. Anything else new that you've seen in terms of the interface? Any changes?
Other than that, I mean, so that I did. I was on the phone with Amazon last week, and I'm always getting on the phone with Amazon, man. I swear, I have at least one call a week with somebody at Amazon,
Yeah.
at least, because my clients are always like, "Hey, this person wants to talk to you." So I get to prod and pride and really get some stuff. And I guess the most interesting thing that I learned, I think that would be helpful to the Seller Sessions audience and to everybody is like, so I learned that when you're looking at suggested bids, you're given three values, right? You're given the low end, you're given the actual suggested bid that if you click apply, it changes it to, and then you're given the high end. I asked about that. I was, like, hey, what's the methodology? How do you crunch the numbers? Obviously, nobody knows that, or nobody can tell me that, things like that. That's like a encyclopedia, right? But she said that, so when you're looking at those, the low end is the 25th percentile of people that win the ad auction. The middle is the 50th percentile of people that win the ad auction, and the high end is the 75th percentile. I didn't know that. And so moving forward, like, we've been using those metrics, but it's really cool to hear from Amazon and to really have the numbers behind it, because now we can, now we can like actually be like, hey, in confidence, this is like, if we bid on this, we're going to be, 75% or higher win the ad auction. So that was something really cool that like I learned this week that I was just like blown away by. That I know this has just been around, but I didn't know all that behind it.
Yeah. Okay. So for clarity, just quickly break the top line of that down again. So we're talking suggested bid here, yeah? Just quickly take a back step here. So just explain that just for the listeners, because they may have not captured that. So
Sure.
we're breaking it down into categories of percentile, yeah?
Yep.
So
Exactly.
elaborate on that point again.
So categories of percentile, there's three categories of percentile. And because there are technically three suggested bids, there's the low, the middle, and the high. On the low one, that is the 25th percentile. So, that is the assumption that you'll win it roughly, potentially like 25% of the time, right?
Gotcha.
The middle is the 50th percentile. You'll win that ad auction roughly 50% of the time. And the high end is the 75th percentile. And you'll be in, win that roughly, the assumption is you'll win that 70%, 75% of the time.
Gotcha.
The ad auction.
And so with that in mind, how are you changing your bid strategies? Now you've got that information, what did you implement across accounts this week?
Yeah. So what we've actually we didn't know this specifically, but we've always taken that approach. So what we do is when we launch auto campaigns, we launch one that matches the high end, matches the middle, and matches the low end. And then we're actually looking into like using suggested bids more. In terms of like the cool thing about if you go into Amazon, you can click on keywords and click, like you can select all your keywords and click apply suggested bid like globally to the first 50. So we're thinking about we talked to Amazon, they said you could do like 25% above that. So you can apply the suggested bid to all your keywords, and then you would click on those, select all of them again, and then click increase by, and then you can increase them by a percentage. So we've been testing that. Like I added some keywords and started testing it today for that specific methodology. So I'm gonna see what we can pull out of there.
Cool. And what are you doing at the moment in terms of automation? I know you've got in-house proprietary tools and stuff that you work for your clients, but give us some ideas that you're doing there.
Yeah. So we talked earlier, Danny, but like tonight, I think he finished with this like 5 days ago, but I just get so behind on things. But my developer finished, we automated launching auto campaigns, which is really cool. So you just copy and paste your SKU and then hit create campaigns, and it just auto creates them for you. It names them, names the ad group, the campaign, puts in the budget, everything. And the only thing we have to change is the bid, because we don't get those three suggested bids in the API data. We're going to try to figure that out. But that's been really cool, launching the auto campaigns. That will take away a step. We used to do bulk operations, so it even takes further away from that, makes it way faster because it's done. I talked to my developer tonight. He says it takes about, I think, a minute or less to launch those, which is really cool through the API.
And so how I mean, are these one by one? I mean, when you're doing these auto campaigns, how are you structuring them in terms of when they're like, do you have different sets of campaigns at different bids, like for each of the clients, or are you just doing one auto campaign? You see where I'm coming from? If you're going to do an auto campaign and automate it, is it much faster, or is it because you're doing multiple auto campaigns that are set apart from each other?
Yeah, we do 3 auto campaigns.
Yeah.
So it would even be faster if it would actually technically even be faster than if you did one auto campaign in the UI, because all you got to do is copy and paste your SKU. But yeah, it's because we do 3, and we waterfall the bids. Yeah, that's why. And we know what the daily budgets are going to be. We can change them if we need to, but generally we know the metrics that we want. And then, we got a system, so we just pump it out, and we got our naming system and everything.
Yeah. And in terms of, obviously, we've gone flying past Q4 now. We've had the die off of January in some cases for some people, unless you're in a place like supplements and everyone's on diets.
Yeah.
Where are you now with the data? Are you seeing an uplift across the counts in terms of seasonality and stuff?
Nah, not really. It's been pretty flat. We've been kind of like, we're dealing with some ACoS issues. So it's actually still like Q1. I mean, it's still pretty slow for us, like across the board, I would say. It's just like trucking along. Like, I think, once maybe we get into summer and stuff like, or maybe like March, April, things like that. But yeah, it's just been pretty flat actually.
Yeah. Did you get any uptick for any campaigns in stuff like, for instance, Valentine's Day? I don't know if you've got accounts that are covering products in that kind of portfolio range. But yeah, or any upcoming events happening that you know of that people should be targeting?
I would say, so the Valentine's Day one, we don't have really like, now that in our portfolio, we don't have a ton of products that would like qualify for like Valentine's Day gifts as much. That'd be like beauty and stuff like that. There are some other things. One that's coming up, I mean, we're in the golf space with a couple accounts, and that's been horrible. Those do well around Q4 and April, I would say. Well, it trends up on March according to like Google Trends, and we're seeing that as well. So coming up, we're gonna be optimizing. We'll get back into the golf season, which would be really nice because our ACoS is horrible. Our sales just tanked after Q4, and then for summer, just summer items. I can't think of any events right now. Really, just getting used to these new reports and trying to. Actually, kind of a big project we've been doing is trying to manipulate the cost per click at the account level for like our bigger accounts, because if we can manipulate the cost per click, we can manipulate ACoS more.
So break that down. What you mean by manipulation?
Yeah. So here's the thing. The things that I think most people should look at when they're looking at PPC is you want to look at your price and then cost per click. Because the difference between those two is, and then your target ACoS, because that's going to tell you how much you can spend on a keyword, and then it tell you whether or not it's realistic. So if you can only spend $2 and you have an average cost per click of $1, you have to have a 50% conversion rate, which is extremely high. Which on average we see
almost impossible.
Yeah, exactly. We see 10 to 15% on average for PPC. That's like considered average for us. And so by manipulating cost per click is like, how do you? All right, dude, we have clients with like over 2,000 campaigns. Like we work pretty, 2,000, we work pretty like high scale. And so this might not necessarily be as helpful for people who have like 1 or 2 campaigns or something. But if you've got a big portfolio and you've got a lot of campaigns and you're just a really aggressive seller, or, you're just pushing, it starts to get really hectic, right? You're testing thousands of keywords. If you've got like 1,000 or 2,000 keywords for like 10 products, that's a lot of keywords you're testing. And so you've got to be able to manipulate the cost per click. So what we've been doing is we actually did it successfully once. We were able to bring down the cost per click from $1.78 to $1.23 in 24 hours. And it was across like a couple hundred campaigns, and it was like 40 products or something like that. And the reason we did that, because our price point was like, $18. And so, the only way for us to bring down the ACoS is to bring down that average cost per click. And so we really had to go tight on cutting keyword bids. So basically what we did, I don't know if I want to go into it, man. It's so technical, man. Like Peek out in. So we found the weighted average. So in this account, the products were roughly the same price. So what we did, we found the weighted average price using the business reports. And then we found the weighted average cost per click. And the time frame was month-to-date data. And so what we did was we found, let's say, for example, our weighted average price is $20 and our weighted average cost per click is $1. And let's see here, and say, you can only do like a 20% ACoS would be like, so $20 times 0.2. So we only have $4 to spend on clicks, right? And if our weighted average cost per click is $1, we can only spend $4. Yes. And so that's 25%, which, getting closer. But so we still have to bring that down, man. So we have to bring it, if I can bring it down to 75 cents, that allows me to get more clicks. And so what we did was we just found, like, let's say, for example, $1 was our weighted average cost per click. We went in and, man, I went in, took me a while, but dude, I just like was going in and slicing and dicing. Like, one rule we implemented was like, no, across the board, like if you really want to go radical, no bid should be above $1, right? Because if our average cost, we did 20% above. So like, we all know that the bid is always higher than the average cost per click. So if our weighted average cost per click is $1, then we did 20% above. So nothing in our portfolio, ad group level, keyword level, should be above $1.20 unless it's within our target ACoS. If it's within our target ACoS, we won't touch it. But if it has like 0 sales, then we want to just cut it. Like that's extreme. Like that's extreme cutting. After you're done with testing, you have a mature account. And we did that with anything was outside of our ACoS too. We have a formula that we use that finds the difference between the target and the goal, or the current ACoS, target ACoS, and brings that down. And we applied it across the board, dude. Like it was really cool. Like it worked, man. It worked really well. We saw for one account that the average cost per click, I think I said before, went from $1.78 to $1.23. And then for another account, average cost per click didn't go down, but our daily spend went down. And I looked at the last 48 hours, our ACoS went down too. It's a really cool system. I haven't rolled it out to like my team at all because it's pretty sophisticated. It took some time. And it was amazing, man. It was one of the best days of my life.
So are you doing anything with day parting, or do you think that's
Dude, haven't seen results, man. Haven't seen any. Nah, we've tested it with 1, 2, 3 accounts, and we have the ability to do it with our software. Like we give you like, hey, Sean, I want my campaigns off at this time or that time. We could do that. But we haven't seen results. What we want to test is at the last company I worked with, we tested changing bids, like day parting bids, like making them, you can do this in AdWords, like making them lower during maybe nighttime and higher during daytime or something. Or we want to test that, just haven't had the time. But no conclusion, man, that I can strongly like be like, hey, day parting's amazing.
Yeah. No worries. Well, look, let's wrap it there. What's the best way that people can reach you?
Yeah. If you guys have any questions or you want to work with us, Sean, SEAN, at junglehustle.com.
Excellent. Guys, thanks for joining us today. Sean, we look forward to getting you back again soon. Take care.
Love it, Danny. Thanks, brother. Bye.